Hello you lovely lot, my name is Max, welcome back to my YouTube channel and yet another Nottingham Forest match preview. Last time out we previewed our upcoming match away from home at Ewood Park against Blackburn Rovers, and at the beginning of this video I thought we would take a couple of minutes to just talk through that fixture, talk about the ups, the downs and how Forest managed to come away from home with a 2-0 win. And then after that we're going to be talking about our upcoming game against Stoke City at the City Ground tomorrow, Saturday. At the time of recording it is Friday, so tomorrow on Saturday at 3 PM, hence why this is coming out the day before. And hopefully we can digest what makes Stoke one of the more interesting teams in the Championship this season, one of the toughest defences, but going forward not necessarily hitting the heights you would expect. Before we do that though, don't forget to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel whilst you are down there. It will be greatly appreciated. We recently surpassed 250 subscribers and are well on the way to 300, so any support you can show to the channel down there will be greatly appreciated. With that being said, let's get into today's video. Firstly, talking about our win away from home against Blackburn Rovers. If you aren't interested in that, I will leave the time code on screen just below me where you can go and go forwards to the Stoke section. This though is going to be open up talking about Blackburn and how Forest came away at Ewood Park with a 2-0 win against Blackburn. Of course, I mentioned probably a couple of times already so far, Forest came away with a 2-0 win away from home against Blackburn Rovers. Goals coming from James Garner and a late Brennan Johnson penalty to secure the 3 points. Forest were probably the better team on the day, outshooting their opponents 14-13, and our game plan really worked particularly well against Blackburn, with us seeing just 45% possession. Now this is pretty significant. If you check that video out that I previewed the Blackburn game out, which is in the iCard above if you haven't, you'll know that I talked about how Blackburn and Forest probably do their best work without the ball, and instead of it being a game about domination of possession, it was actually going to be probably a battle of the teams who could see the least of the ball where they can do the most effective work they can, and Forest definitely won that battle, forcing Blackburn to see 55% of the ball on the day. Now the repercussions of this were Blackburn, who are actually the lowest average possession team in the Championship at the moment, unable to really generate the amount of chances that they wanted to do. They are, like I say, a team built to play on the transition despite being a more possession-based team in years gone by, and they really struggled to break down Forest's low block defensively and just could not get many touches on the ball in and around the box. And this was really exemplified with 50% of Blackburn shots coming from outside the 18-yard box and none from within the 6-yard box over the course of the 90 minutes. They just could not generate high quality chances that would lead to an opening goal for them. It also didn't help that Blackburn had a defender sent off pretty early in the second half, which led to Forest being able to be a bit more expansive with 50% of Forest shots after this point, coming after this point in the game, which suggests that the game opened up a little bit for the Reds after that sending off for Blackburn. The two key players for Forest on the day were Bryce Samba, who completed 7 monstrous saves from Blackburn. Despite the fact they weren't generating high quality chances, he was still pretty busy between the sticks and did a great job at keeping a clean sheet, a very well earned clean sheet. And of course Brennan Johnson, who was probably the man of the match on the day, of course converted that goal from the spot late in the game. He also took 4 shots, completing 1 dribble and setting up 1 chance for his teammate. All round a pretty good day at the office for the Welsh international, and has been well publicised since the game finished. Forest were elevated with this win into the playoffs for the first time in 2.5 years since we were playing under Sabri Lamucci, and a win on Saturday against Stoke City will really cement our place in the playoffs as we head deep into the season with an FA Cup quarter-final on the horizon. Speaking of which, I think it's time for us to start talking about Stoke City and what makes them currently the 11th best team in the Championship at the time of recording, despite the fact under the hood they actually look like one of the better teams in the Championship so far. They're a reasonably creative side, generating 11.9 shots per 90, which is 7th in the league and actually more than Forest, and have one of the meanest defences in the league, as well as they are 8th for shots against and have conceded just 30 goals this season. Therefore, statistically, they actually compare pretty similarly to Blackburn in terms of their shot positivity. Despite this, there are some real issues for Stoke when it comes to them generating chances and scoring goals. They're currently 11th in the league for goals scored with just 36 in the league, and are 12th in the league when it comes to the percentage of their shots coming from within the 18-yard box with 56%. They also come into the game against Forest in pretty mixed form at the moment, having picked up 2 wins, 2 losses and a draw in their last 5 games, including a win against Swansea City last time out. So with that little blurb out the way, let's talk a little about how Michael O'Neill, the former Northern Ireland manager, has Stoke City playing in the league this season. He's predominantly adopted a 3-5-2, 5-3-2 kind of formation, essentially a 3 at the back, with Jacob Brown, their top goal scorer, on 8 goals, often partnered by the experienced Stephen Fletcher or recent signee Josh Madger up front. They like to build play in the wide areas with no significant bias as to which side they prefer, looking to move the ball into those wide areas for crosses into the central area where they tend to take the majority of their shots, again not really with much of a side bias. This is compounded by the fact that they deliver the second most accurate crosses per 90 in the league this season, suggesting that their style involves building up from wide areas and creating chances from wide positions by crossing the ball into the box to their big strikers. They're also pretty efficient from their crosses as well, with about 1/3 of their crosses hitting their target. Defensively, they set up in a way as to frustrate the opponent sitting around the 18-yard box. They're currently 7th in the league, as I mentioned, for shots conceded per 90 at 10.9, and are also 7th in the league for percentage of opposition shots coming from outside the box with 38%. Again, sort of supporting this idea that they like to sit alongside the 18-yard box and force their opponents to take less high-quality chances. I would argue one of the main reasons for this is probably their best player in their squad at the moment, the Australian international Harry Souttar. Souttar is a very active defender, completing about 3 tackles and interceptions per 90, as well as 2 clearances and 1.5 blocks. But it's in the air where the 2-metre tall defender really excels. Obviously. He has an aerial win success rate of around 73%, which is actually marginally higher than one of the most dominant aerial defenders in Europe at the moment in the form of Virgil van Dijk. And don't be surprised to see him step out from defence, mainly on that right hand side, to contest these aerial duels, almost playing like a defensive midfielder trying to win those long balls from goal kicks. So to summarise, Stoke are a very defensively solid team possessing extreme aerial strength and like to cross quite often during the game. I will look to physically outmatch their opponents across the pitch. Sounds extremely similar to how Stoke got up to the Premier League under Tony Pulis, so I guess some things just stay the same. So with that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about how Forest can actually beat Stoke on the day. What will make Forest a successful team against the Potters? Well, unless Stoke play Harry Souttar, who is more suited to the right-hand side of the defence on the left, Forest could see a lot of joy down that side with Jed Spence and Brennan Johnson attacking that right-hand channel, which, as I've been mentioning continuously over the course of these Nottingham Forest videos, seems to be the best avenue of attack for Forest. In terms of their attack, Stoke are pretty reliant on generating chances from crosses, and with Joe Worrell at times being suspect at defending aerial balls, only winning around 2.3 aerial duels per 90 this season, Stoke could do worse than to try and exploit this weakness by playing one of their tall strikers at the back stick and crossing from the right hand side. It'll be imperative for Forest to defend this area pretty successfully in order for them to get the 3 points, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Forest play in a little bit more of a conservative manner than they have in previous weeks, particularly against Blackburn. Forest, on the other hand, aren't actually that reliant on high crosses in their game. However, they can be effective when necessary, particularly with someone like Keenan Davis or Sam Surridge up front, who are both pretty aerially dominant strikers. Instead, Forest like to play the ball across the ground, generating chances from build-up, and actually taking the 4th least headed shots in the league at the moment per match, with just 1.1. Again, sort of exacerbating the lack of importance of headed chances in this Forest team. And I wouldn't be surprised, despite the fact that Forest like to work the ball into the wide areas, these are usually for low crosses or sort of pulling the ball back to the edge of the box to generate the chances. That being said, with the impressive form of Keenan Davis since joining from Villa on loan, you could actually see our number 9 giving Harry Souttar some issues, particularly down that favoured left-hand channel he seems to have adopted for Forest so far. To summarise, I would say Forest should probably avoid using high crosses in their attacking phases, just simply due to how aerially dominant this Stoke City team is, using their strong ground game to pierce what can be a weak underbelly of this Stoke team when they're left exposed. However, as is usually an issue for Forest, they need to make sure they're not caught too high up the pitch, particularly on that right hand side. As I'm sure I've said many times before, if Jed Spence is caught too high up, he leaves Joe Worrell a little bit exposed, who one-on-one can sometimes struggle when trying to contain players. Overall, I'm probably going to predict this game to end 1-0 to Forest, I think. I've just sort of thought this up on the fly. And I think most important for us is using that right-hand channel. I don't see particularly a lot of talent down that side for Stoke, down their left side, our right-hand side. I don't think they're going to be able to deal with the pace and the interchanging of Spence and Johnson, and I think their best defender in Harry Souttar is probably likely to start either in the centre or out on the right, where he's not really going to have much impact on defending our wide players on the right-hand side, of course. And with the really good starts to their Forest careers in the form of Sam Sturridge and Keenan Davis, I wouldn't be surprised to see them both start up front if we're looking to try and physically mismatch this Stoke City team. Again, I wouldn't be surprised to see them start in the front two, but I think more likely we're going to continue with that front three that drops into a 2-1 as and when we need it to. As always though, let me know in the comment section down below what your predictions are for Nottingham Forest versus Stoke City. I do think this is going to be a crunch tie. Stoke City are 11th in the league at the moment, so we really should be beating them if we're looking to finish in the playoff positions this season. But we've seen time and time again this Stoke team, particularly under Michael O'Neill, have been extremely resilient at times, and physically will probably be a mismatch against Forest. So it could be interesting to see how they do, especially if allowed to get high balls into the box for attackers to attack. That though does wrap up another one of these Nottingham Forest previews. I want to take a second to say thank you so much for the support you have been showing on these videos in recent weeks. The channel has grown by nearly 100 subscribers over the course like the last week. We've seen nearly 2,500 views over the last few videos that I've uploaded, and I'm really enjoying doing them. So if you want to see more of these, you got to let me know down in the comment section down below. Like I've mentioned a couple of times, I'm looking at doing some Champions League previews next week with the return, of course, of the UEFA Champions League. So let me know what games you want to see me preview, what players you want to see me talk about, what matchups you want to see me talk about, and also your predictions for the round of 16 for the UEFA Champions League. With that being said though, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this, don't forget to drop a like down below and subscribe whilst you're down there, turning on notifications so you don't miss a single match preview. And with that being said, enjoy your weekend, enjoy the Forest match. I will catch you later.